Hey guys, tonight we're slipping quietly through the marble columns of ancient Athens, not to hear a philosopher's speech or watch a tragic play, but to peek into the dim, perfumed corners where beauty was not just admired, but meticulously crafted and dangerously pursued. You'll see crushed minerals, roasted herbs, and animal parts turned into cosmetics. Sounds fancy? You sure about that? Because the face powder you're about to touch, you probably shouldn't breathe too hard near it. You step softly into a sun-drenched courtyard. The air smells faintly of olives and old stone. There, on a flat slab of marble, sits a small group of women in linen chitons, grinding a chalky white substance with slow, circular strokes. It's lead carbonate, and they're mixing it with just a little vinegar. One woman dips her fingers into the paste and dabs it onto her cheeks, smoothing it upward to her temples with delicate precision. You notice how serene she looks, even, though you also spot a mild tremor in her hand. Her maid offers a small bronze mirror, just polished enough to reflect light, but warped around the edges. The woman leans in and inspects her work. The powder clings to her skin like dust on parchment, muting the natural warmth of her complexion. "Paler is purer," she mutters, not looking at you. The Athenian beauty standard demands that a woman's skin glow like polished marble, untouched by sun, unblemished by life. The lead helps, at least at first. You're told it makes the skin smooth, hides imperfections. But you also catch a whisper between servants about headaches, fainting, and the yellowing of eyes. Some women start to forget things, one says. Softly, like she's describing a ghost story, you step closer and kneel beside a younger girl grinding her own portion of powder with clumsy, determined swipes. Her fingers are stained white. When she smiles at you, there's a smudge near her lip that she hasn't noticed. You don't mention it. The sun shifts. A servant lifts a wicker parasol to keep it from touching the painted cheeks. You're handed a shallow bowl of water, told to mix more powder. You stir gently, the texture fine like sifted flour. It clumps in your fingers. It smells metallic. You try not to imagine how many times someone has applied the same mix without knowing what it's doing under the surface. There's a sudden gust of wind, and a cloud of powder rises light, dancing, beautiful, and instantly makes you cough. The women laugh, but it's not unkind. One reaches over to wipe a bit from your cheek with a corner of her chiton. "You'll get used to it," she says. You won't. A little boy runs past, chasing a dog, and knocks over a ceramic jar of vinegar. It splashes onto the stone floor, and the scent hits you hard, sharp, acidic, ancient. A woman groans and begins gathering the spilled liquid. "We need it," she says. It binds the lead. The quiet resumes. Just the sound of stone grinding against stone, the soft brushing of fingers on skin, and the rustle of linen. It's almost peaceful, until you remember that everyone here is slowly poisoning themselves in the name of beauty. Later, as you prepare to leave, you glimpse the mirror again. It catches the light just right. You see yourself powdered, faded, slightly ghostly. You look like a statue. A still, lovely, slowly dying statue. The Greek poets may have praised pale cheeks and divine complexions, but the real face of beauty here? It's cracked, toxic, and fading faster than anyone dares admit. And historians still argue whether the women truly believed it was safe, or simply didn't care, because looking like Aphrodite was worth the cost. You're not so sure. Your skin itches where the powder touched it. Probably nothing, probably. You duck beneath a heavy curtain of woven flax, stepping from the blinding courtyard into the cool shadow of a tiled room. The scent shifts, no more chalk and vinegar, but something sweet and musky, a mix of honey, olive oil, and something faintly metallic again. Welcome to the bath chamber, where beauty gets slathered, scraped, and sometimes singed into place. A pair of attendants kneel near a bronze brazier, gently heating a lump of dark resin in a small copper dish. The material bubbles softly, and the room fills with the scent of burned pine and beeswax. You blink through the haze. It's time for hair removal. A woman sits upright on a low bench, arms lifted in silence as an attendant spreads the sticky resin beneath them. She doesn't flinch, doesn't speak. Her skin is already blotched from past sessions, the hair pulled out root by root in a ritual more ancient than democracy. Suddenly FWIP. The strip is yanked away. You wince more than she does. This isn't vanity, you're told. This is self-resigned self-control, balance, modesty made visible on the skin. Smooth skin is orderly skin. Clean skin. Civilized. The resin cools again, and now it's your turn. A different attendant approaches with a ladle, and a small smile that doesn't quite reach your eyes. She coats your forearm with the warm, brownish goo. It stings a little, but then begins to tighten. There's something oddly calming about it, until she gives a knowing glance and rips the strip away. Okay, now you understand the silence. Still. Rubbing your arm, you move toward the next part of the room, an area filled with large ceramic jars. You're handed a small alabaster pot with a golden lid. Inside, a fragrant paste made from crushed rose petals, ash, and charred barley. You're to use it on your eyebrows. Yes, on them. Or rather, where they used to be. Across the room, you notice a noble woman sitting before a polished bronze disc, calmly shaving her brows off with a blade that looks more like a fruit knife. Her face is expressionless, but her hands move with surgical precision. Thick brows are for slaves, someone mutters behind you, or Scythians. After the shaving comes painting long curved arches in dark pigment, tracing across the forehead like decorative accents on a vase. You try it. Your hand shakes. You're told it's fine. No one gets it right at first. You feel exposed raw, a little ridiculous, but also oddly elegant. You look around. No one is laughing. By the door, an older woman applies a thin paste to her arm's arsenic paste. A lightning agent, they say. It keeps the freckles away. She hums as she rubs it in, her fingers stained faintly yellow. You ask whether she's worried about it. She shrugs. My grandmother used it. She lived to 60. You're not reassured. There's a small table of tools laid out like a surgeon's kit scrapers. Tweezers, curved razors, and tiny glass ampules filled with herbs. Or mineral dust. A girl dips a stick into a vial of antimony sulfide coal, then draws a thick line under her lashes. Her eyes look enormous, haunting, divine. You try it, and your eyes immediately begin to water. Don't blink, she says gently. Too late. Outside, the light has shifted again. The sun is lower now, casting golden bars of shadow across the room. A flute plays softly somewhere, a moment of peace. Almost. Until you notice one of the younger girls coughing in the corner. Her lips are pale, her eyes a little glassy. A servant quietly escorts her away. No one makes a sound. Some scholars say these practices were passed down through generations of women who truly believed in their power, who felt closer to the goddesses when their skin glowed and their lashes darkened like night. Others argue it was all about control. Keep women busy with their appearance, and they won't look too closely at the world around them. You lean into the mirror, smudging your finger across your coal-streaked lid. You look powerful. You look strange. You look like someone else. The bath attendants begin to tidy the room. A bowl of olive oil is passed around for moisturizing. Your skin is raw but glowing. You inhale the scent and close your eyes for a moment. It would be easier not to think about the toxins. Easier to pretend it's all ritual, all heritage, all beauty. But somewhere deep down, you can't stop wondering, how many women looked like this, right before they got sick? You're ushered out into the courtyard again, and the heat hits like a stone wall. The scent of myrrh still clings to your skin, but now it mingles with sweat and dust. Another day, Another layer of something strange slathered onto your face. And now your lips. A young girl approaches carrying a tiny wooden tray. On it, a little pot of shimmering red pigment and a narrow reed brush. "This one's for charm," she says, smiling shyly. "And sometimes for poison." You blink. She shrugs. "Only if you lick your lips too often." Welcome to the world of ancient Greek lipstick, made from crushed red ochre mixed with olive oil. And sometimes with red lead. That's right, lead. The same stuff people would later outlaw in pipes and paint. But here, it's a beauty essential dot. The girl paints your lips carefully, and they tingle. Not in a pleasant way. You try not to purse them or, heaven forbid, breathe too deeply. The color is deep and dramatic, like something Aphrodite might wear to a duel. You catch sight of yourself in a burnished bronze plate. Honestly, you don't look half bad. You look dangerous. Like someone who might know how to curse a man in verse and seduce him in the same breath. Around the courtyard, other women are reapplying their lip color using tiny fragments of polished obsidian as mirrors. One woman, older, rubs a bright paste on her cheeks made from crushed mulberries and vinegar. It gives her a rosy flush that seems to bloom like wine on her skin. Another uses crushed beetles for a richer red. You can't help but wonder who discovered all this first. Like who looked at a dead bug and thought, "Let's rub this on my face and see if it makes me prettier." Some say the earliest makeup rituals were offerings in themselves, an act of devotion to the gods of beauty, of desire, of the theater. Others argue it was all performative. A woman's face was her calling card, her resume, and her battlefield. You lean into the mirror again and try not to breathe through your mouth. It's hard to feel relaxed with a potential neurotoxin sitting on your lips, but the color is mesmerizing. Deep, velvety, and a little bit wicked. Nearby, a slave grinds a new batch of pigment with a mortar and pestle. The sound echoes strangely. In the courtyard, like a soft warning, you notice her hands are stained red. She wipes them on her tunic, and you spot a faint rash creeping up her arms. No one says anything. You move on past a small table covered in bowls, some filled with flower petals, others with crushed minerals. A soft blue powder catches your eye. It's azurite ground to a fine dust, used sparingly to shade the eyelids. You pick up a pinch and touch it to your face. Not too much, someone warns. It seeps into your skin. You nod and set it. Down dot from a shaded alcove, a woman recites a list of household ingredients that double as beauty tools. Sheep's fat for lashes, vinegar for shine, honey for wrinkles, and... Wait, is that crocodile dung? You misheard, right? You did not mishear. Apparently, dried and powdered crocodile excrement is used as an anti-aging mask. Rich in ammonia, they say. Great for the skin. A timeless glow, brought to you by literal animal waste. You laugh. You have to. It's too absurd not to. Someone behind you whispers, "Beauty is pain." Someone else adds, "And sometimes poison." You glance back at your lips, now a little dry and maybe just maybe tingling too much. You resist the urge to lick them. There's something unsettling in the air now. You're beginning to realize that this isn't just about looking pretty. It's about belonging. It's about performance. It's about survival. You remember the girl with the lead pot, the red stain on her fingers, the other girl coughing behind the brazier. How many of them will grow ill and never know why? And yet, no one's stopping. The ritual continues. The color deepens. The obsession sharpens. Historians still argue whether the ancient Greeks truly believed these materials were safe, or whether they simply accepted the risks. After all, what's a little stomach pain or blood poisoning when the gods demand perfection? You press your lips together. The red has bled slightly into the corners of your mouth. A beautiful kind of venom dot, and in this strange, perfumed courtyard, it's the norm. You're led into a cooler chamber, now an airy, colonnaded room where the light falls in soft pools on the marble floor. The hum of conversation is low, reverent almost. A woman adjusts the folds of her peplus, then lifts a small silver spoon. To her face, it's not food she's about to taste. It's face powder. Yes, powder, made from white lead. You're not surprised anymore, but still. It's jarring to watch someone apply poison with the same care a baker spreads. Honey on bread. She dabs the fine powder across her cheeks, her neck, her forehead. Her skin takes on a ghostly glow, unnatural, luminous, and oddly holy. The goal isn't health, it's pallor. Pallor means purity. Pallor means refinement. A tan is for the poor, for those who labor outdoors, for slaves and sailors. You reach for the dish hesitantly. The powder clings to your fingers like moonlight. When you apply it, it cools your skin at first. Then it tingles. Another girl sitting beside you is already on her second layer. Her lips are bright red, her eyelids dusted with burnt almond ash, but her face is nearly white, like a statue come to life. She catches you staring and gives a faint smile. "The lighter, the lovelier," she murmurs. Some say the best powders were mixed with crushed pearls or alabaster, others with vinegar or goat's milk, but the most prized base? Always white lead. Smooth, opaque, and deadly. You sit perfectly. Still as an older woman uses a goose feather brush to sweep powder along your jawline. She works like an artist or an embalmer. Every inch of your face disappears beneath the layer, leaving behind a mask of idealized beauty. You look in the mirror. You don't look like you. You look like a deity. Or a ghost. One of the attendants brings out a bowl of vinegar-steeped chaka, gentler alternative. She explains, for those whose skin can't tolerate lead. You can't help but notice her hands are blistered, her nails ridged and yellow. Her own skin is a silent warning. But who listens? In a corner of the room, two women debate over the best formulas for skin lightening. One insists on a mix of white, lead, powdered snail shells, and wine. The other scoffs too thin, not enough coverage. She swears by vinegar mixed with powdered hooves. You're not sure whether to be amazed or horrified. Probably both. There's a kind of magic in the transformation, yes. Even now, you watch as each face around you becomes less human, more sculpture. In a society obsessed with symmetry and proportion, faces are like temples, curated, perfected, made to impress the gods and guests alike. Still, your skin starts to itch. Not badly, just a little. Enough to notice. You're told to be careful. Not to sweat, the powder cakes. And if you reapply too often, it might soak into your pores. But don't worry. That only happens if you're not careful. Besides, one woman says, a little nausea is worth being remembered. You try to laugh. The joke catches in your throat. Some historians believe the Greek elite had no idea their cosmetics were toxic. Others argue they knew exactly what they were doing and chose beauty anyway. After all, what's a shorter life if you spend it admired? You breathe out slowly. The air feels thick, heavy with rosewater and risk. A young girl walks past. You, humming softly, balancing a tray of crushed lily paste and sea salt scrub. She looks no older than 13, but her cheeks are already coated in powder, her eyes rimmed with soot. She pauses, sees your face, and gives you a nod, an unspoken rite of passage. You nod back. Somewhere in the courtyard, you hear a woman coughing again, a deeper, raspier sound now. But no one flinches. The ceremony goes on. You lean into the mirror one last time, inspecting the fine, even finish. You look radiant. You look regal. You look tired. The mask is beautiful. But it's still a mask. You've barely grown used to the cold touch of lead powder when someone slips a wreath onto your head. Laurel leaves, dipped in oil, arranged with careful artistry. They scratch slightly, but the symbolism is clear. You're not just anyone. Anymore. You're being prepared. Today, you're not just a woman. You're a bride to be. It doesn't matter if you've actually agreed to this. In ancient Athens, a woman's beauty wasn't just for herself. It was for her household, her husband, her lineage. Your face was a currency, a legacy, and unfortunately, an expectation. They bring out the ceremonial grooming tools. Bronze razors, beeswax strips, a bowl of olive oil warmed by the sun. No one asks your permission. They just begin. A girl kneels to work on your legs. This is for cleanliness, she says gently. And also, appearances. Another scrapes a thin blade along your arms with practiced skill. Hairlessness was an ideal, especially for brides. It showed discipline, elegance, modesty. A body too natural was seen as uncivilized. The scraping continues. You flinch once or twice, but the rhythm is almost hypnotic. The olive oil soothes your skin, leaving it shiny and smooth. You're like marble now, polished and purified. They move on to your eyebrows. A woman with silver-streaked hair takes a long look at your face and sighs. Too sparse, she mutters. We'll fix it. Out comes the charcoal paste, made from burnt date pits, vine soot, and a hint of resin. She uses a thin stick to redraw your eyebrows, arching them high, narrowing their ends like a bird in flight. You peer into the mirror again. You look surprised, slightly worried, but very symmetrical. Then comes the perfume. Not a soft spritz from a bottle, but a ritual. A pouring of scented oils onto your hair, your wrists, even behind your knees. You smell like myrtle, almond, and something deeper, maybe frankincense or cinnamon, steeped in wine. The room spins just a little. Or maybe it's the weight of so many expectations, soaked in oil and bound in ribbons. A young girl braids your hair, weaving in threads of saffron-dyed wool. It's a bright golden hue, the color of luck, of fertility, of sacrifice. She hums a wedding hymn as she works, one that promises beauty, obedience, and a full womb. You're not sure if it's comforting or chilling. At the center of the room sits an older woman, very still, very silent. She's been watching everything with hawk-like focus. Her face is powdered, her lips painted, her hair carefully curled. But there's something in her eyes, like she's watching a pattern repeat for the 1000th time. Once, she sat where you sit now. You wonder if she also questioned the rituals. If she also hated the depilatory wax made from quicklime and arsenic. If she also smiled through the sting of vinegar facials and the burn of sandalwood scrubs. Or maybe she loved it. Maybe she found power in the transformation. Maybe this was her choice. The historians are split on that too. Some argue that ancient Greek women were trapped in a cycle of adornment, conditioned to perform beauty for survival. Others claim these rituals were empowering acts of control, expression, identity. But maybe it was both. Maybe, like now, beauty was a double-edged blade, sharpened by admiration, dulled by pressure. You look at yourself again, at the carefully crafted face, the soft glow, the flower-strewn hair. You look exactly how you're supposed to, which is to say, not like yourself at all. The older woman finally speaks. Her voice is soft but certain. Remember, she says, this face isn't forever, but it will be remembered. You feel the wreath pressed down just a little more firmly on your skull. The room falls quiet. Outside, the sun is setting, casting long shadows across the floor. The day is ending, but the ceremony isn't over. There are still eyes to impress, gods to appease, futures to forge. And your face, your crafted face, is the offering. You shuffle through a narrow doorway into a courtyard bathed in moonlight, cool and quiet. The breeze catches the edge of your saffron himation, carrying with it the scent of olive oil, ash and lily, the smells of beauty, duty, and something more ancient still. It's time for the final preparation. At the center of the courtyard stands a small altar, carved with winding vines and topped with a terracotta bowl, It waits patiently. Surrounding it are jars of pigments, incense cones, a mirror polished, to cloudy bronze, and a bundle of dried herbs tied in red string. A priestess steps forward. She wears no makeup. Her beauty is the ritual. She offers a smile that somehow feels both kind and intimidating. "Are you ready?" she asks. You nod. You don't have a choice, but also, you kind of want to see what happens next. She begins by mixing pigments in a shallow shell bowl: crushed mulberries, wine lees, a touch of cinnabar. The color deepens into something rich and seductive, the shade of bruised cherries and promises. She dips a delicate brush into it and beckons. You tilt your face up. Her hand is steady as she paints your lips. Slowly, carefully, like gilding the edge of a scroll. The cinnabar stings a little, just a whisper of heat, but you say nothing. Beauty shouldn't be painless, right? Cinnabar, of course, is mercury sulfide. Yes, mercury. One of the deadliest substances known to humanity, but it's so very red. And the Greeks adored red lips, the color of vitality, sensuality, divine femininity, and besides, the irritation just means it's working. Around you, other women wait their turn. Some fan themselves with palm fronds, some mutter prayers to Aphrodite, some just stare at their hands. One is crying softly. No one says anything about it. The priestess marks your cheeks next to gentle taps of red ochre, mixed with goose fat. It gives the illusion of health, even if the lead powder beneath it has started to dull your pulse. Then she lights the incense. Myrrh and bay leaf smoke curls through the air like questions left unanswered. It smells ancient and sacred, and a little like burning teeth. She circles you once, murmuring words that are older than the city itself. You catch phrases here and there. Body as temple, skin as veil, mask of divinity. There's no laughter now. Just reverence. Then she lifts a tiny silver blade. No, not for harm, for hairline correction. She presses the blade against your forehead, gently scraping the baby hairs around your temples. The goal is to create a smooth, high forehead, a sign of intelligence and grace. The practice is common, almost expected. Still, the scrape of metal on skin is intimate. You feel exposed in a way no powder can hide. Once, this would have been done with a burning walnut shell or with depilatory paste made of arsenic and vinegar. But tonight is special. Tonight, you get the silver blade. When she finishes, she steps back and nods. The women around you begin to murmur approval. You are complete. You walk to the mirror and examine yourself. You've seen paintings that look less composed. Every part of your face has been calculated. This is the image that will define you in whispers, in stories, maybe in song. But it's hard to ignore how heavy it all feels. Not just the oils and powders and pigments, but the expectation, the sacrifice, the cost. Some historians argue that these rituals were acts of oppression. Others claim they were a kind of alchemy, transforming mortal women into symbols of godliness. Both might be true. You touch your cheek, it's soft, waxy, a little numb. You smile, or try to. The cinnabar has made your lips stiff, but no one notices. They're already turning toward the ceremonial couch. It's time to lie back, rest, and let the mask set. You obey, your head cradled in perfumed silk. You close your eyes. The night air is gentle. Somewhere an owl calls. The priestess hums a lullaby under her breath, low, ancient, familiar. Not quite comforting, but not frightening either. You drift for a moment, caught between pride and unease. Between the girl you were and the symbol you've become. And just before you fall asleep, you think, is this what being beautiful means? You awaken before the others do. The silk pillow beneath your head has grown warm, infused with the faint trace of oils and your own uneasy dreams. A streak of early light cuts across the courtyard, and for a second, you forget where you are. You touch your face instinctively. It's still there, the smoothness, the painted calm, the faint stick of oil and cinnabar. Today is the procession. The air smells like honey bread, charcoal smoke, and tension. You hear sandals slapping softly against mosaic tile as attendants bustle about, fetching robes, straightening garlands, whispering last-minute instructions. Someone hands you a veil of translucent linen, embroidered at the edges with gold thread. It glints when it catches the light, like a trap disguised as a gift. You stand. Your knees ache a little. So does your pride, though that's harder too. Locate. They dress you in layer after layer. A saffron-dyed chiton, a wine-red sash tied tight just under your bust, and finally a sheer outer himation. Each color is symbolic fertility, devotion, purity, but none of it feels like yours. You're a canvas again. A banner. An older woman tightens the sash and murmurs, "Walk slowly, gracefully, and don't speak unless spoken to." Of course. You step into the street. The crowd has already gathered, neighbors, family, strangers. Some hold flowers, others fruit. A few simply stare, their faces somewhere between admiration and suspicion. You're led forward by torchbearers. The sun has risen, but the flames are symbolic. They cast dancing shadows on the walls, turning you into a myth in motion. At your side, girls toss rose petals. A boy plays a reed flute off dash key. As you walk, you begin to hear murmurs. She's radiant. One whispers, her mother must have used sea sponge masks. Another says knowingly, "Did you see her eyebrows? Drawn with actual soot, I'm sure. That's expensive." You pretend not to hear, but each comment lodges in your brain like a thorn. You wonder how long your cinnabar lips will last, whether anyone will notice the redness on your arms from yesterday's hair removal. One woman clucks her tongue. She needs stronger coal when she has children. Those eyes will tire. You try not to blink too hard. The procession winds uphill, past temples and taverns, bathhouses and bakeries. The smell of fresh bread drifts out of a doorway and makes your stomach turn not with hunger, but with longing. For something simpler, less scripted. A child steps out from the crowd and offers you a flower. You bend slightly, only slightly. You've been warned not to wrinkle the chiton and accept it. A tiny, spontaneous moment. It feels illicit, real. Then you hear the priest of Apollo calling out. You've reached the final stop. At the temple steps, an offering table is laid out. Dried figs, olive branches, a small clay figurine of Aphrodite. You're told to place your veil upon the statue, a sign of your transformation from girl to woman, from daughter to bride. You hesitate. Just for a heartbeat. The veil is light, but it feels like iron in your hand. You drape it anyway. The crowd exhales. Some historians say this moment was one of power. Woman claiming her adult identity in front of the gods and society. Others see it as submission, the shedding of personal will in favor of public expectation. But the truth? You're not sure what this moment means to you. You just know that everyone is watching. Later, as you sit in the cool shade of the temple's colonnade, a handmaid whispers, "You did well." Not everyone can carry that much weight on their face. You laugh. It escapes before you can stop it. The first sound that's truly yours all day. The handmaid blinks, then laughs too. For a moment, you're just two girls in the sun, laughing about the absurdity of cinnabar lips and ash-drawn eyebrows. The moment passes quickly. The marriage rites begin. But at least, for a breath, you remembered who was under the veil. The sky shifts. It's late afternoon now, that golden hour when even the dust in the air looks soft and sacred. You're inside again, this time in a dim room cooled by thick stone walls. Incense smolders in bronze dishes, sending thin threads of smoke toward the painted ceiling. The scent is heavier now, amber, orris root, and crushed violet petals, something regal, something cloying. You're preparing for the bath. But this isn't about getting clean. No, this is the sacred cleansing, a ritualized purification of body and spirit. Your marriage rites have officially begun, and this is where it gets strange. Two older women assist you. Neither speaks much, but their hands are experienced, gentle in a no-nonsense way. They remind you of your aunts, if your aunts were in the business of transforming human beings into holy vessels. You step into a shallow marble basin filled with water warmed by sunstones and perfumed with rosewater and laurel oil. The scent hits you like a memory that isn't yours. They begin by unbinding your hair. It falls heavily across your back, slightly stiff with yesterday's egg wash and myrtle oil. One of the women combs through it using a bone pick, murmuring something under her breath, maybe a prayer, maybe a complaint about your tangles. Then comes the exfoliation. You try not to flinch as they scrub your skin with pumice stone and salt paste. It scratches, not cruelly, but insistently. You feel layers of yourself peeling away. Literally. Flakes of skin, traces of old oils, remnants of whatever you were before today. The water grows cloudy. You try not to look. Next, they smear your body with a thick cream made of beeswax and goat milk, scented with iris and galbanum. It smells divine. It also smells like it's been sitting in a clay jar for 3 weeks. You suppose beauty doesn't always smell like a spring meadow. You sit very still, waiting for the paste to dry. It forms a light crust, like a second skin. They whisper something again. Something about Aphrodite rising from the sea. Something about rebirth. You almost expect doves to descend. Instead, they rinse you off with pitchers of cold water infused with lemon balm. It makes you gasp. And again, it's a full-body restart. Like you've been reset to factory settings. But those settings include scented thighs and an unearthly glow. You're handed a linen, drying cloth with stitched borders, little eyes and waves embroidered in blue thread. You wrap it around yourself, then stare at your reflection in a bronze mirror mounted on the wall. Your skin gleams. Your face is flushed. You look, not like yourself, but like someone important. You're glowing, like a statue that someone forgot to worship. Some scholars suggest this ritual wasn't just symbolic, but medicinal. That the oils and herbs helped ward off infection, soothe the nerves, restore hormonal balance. Others claim it was pure theater, an emotional placebo dressed up in petals. But right now, you don't care. You feel reborn. Soft, a little ridiculous. A lot beautiful. One of the older women hands you a final vial of perfume concentrate made of stacte, cinnamon, and cedarwood, so potent it stings your nose. She dabs it on your wrists, neck, and under your earlobes with a reed stick. The gods like this one, she says, almost apologetically. The smell is ancient. It smells like something Cleopatra might have worn on a dare. You blink a few times to fight the sting. Your eyes water. And that's when the second part of the bath begins. The instruction. They sit you down on a cushion. One woman begins braiding your hair into an elaborate knot. The other recites the rules. Not about marriage. Those came earlier. These are about maintenance. Don't sleep on your side creases your cheek. Reapply ochre every few hours or you'll look ghostly. If your lips peel, don't pick dab with almond oil and bite a rose petal. You nod. Your scalp hurts from the tight braid. Your mind buzzes from the perfume. Your knees are still a little wet. And through all of it, you start to wonder, is beauty a blessing? Or just a very stylish cage? No one tells you. But they hand you a gold-trimmed robe, and you rise. Tomorrow, you'll stand before the gods again. Tonight, you sleep alone in the sacred chamber. Sweet-smelling, soft-skinned, and full of new rules. You curl up, careful not to crease your cheek. Candle by your bed flickers once, then steadies. And you close your eyes, carrying the scent of cinnamon into your dreams. The chamber is dark when you wake. Only a thin shaft of moonlight cuts across the floor, catching the gold threads in the cushion beneath your head. You're alone. The kind of alone that feels designed, ritualized. As if even your solitude has been curated for aesthetic purposes. Today is the final ceremony. You rise. Your limbs still sore from lying too carefully on your back all night. Your hair is tight, but unruffled. Somehow the braid has survived sleep. Pinned with a sprig of myrrh that now tickles your neck, you are led silently, barefoot through a series of torchlit corridors toward the temple's inner sanctum. The walls are covered with painted panels, nymphs with impossible hips, goddesses with perfect curls, mortals frozen in postures of idealized devotion. You catch your reflection in a polished brass bowl and almost don't recognize her. She looks serene. She looks rehearsed. In the sanctum, a group of women waits. Some are priestesses. Some are other initiates, older girls from nearby households. All wear the same ceremonial white chiton. All carry branches of olive and pomegranate. One turns to you and smiles. Her teeth are stained with wine, and you realize she's already halfway through the ceremonial. Fast breaking, you're handed a shallow bowl filled with a milky infusion goat's milk, steeped with fennel, honey, and something bitter. You sip it, trying not to grimace. It tastes like floral regret. Then the ceremony begins. There is chanting. Not melodic, not exactly beautiful, more like droning syllables meant to coax the god's attention without flattering them. You repeat the words syllable by syllable, your mouth forming sounds you don't understand, but feel compelled to obey. At one point, you're asked to stand in the center of a circle and recite a vow. You hesitate, not because you've forgotten the lines they drilled them into you last night, but because suddenly your voice feels too loud in this quiet room. Like it doesn't belong to you anymore. You say the words. Anyway, historians still argue over what these vows actually meant. Some say they were about chastity. Others say devotion. Others claim it was symbolic submission to beauty itself. But, standing there, barefoot on cold tile, you know what it feels like. It feels like transformation by coercion. After the vow, you're given a final adornment. A wreath of bay leaves dipped in saffron oil, placed gently onto your head like a crown. It drips slightly, staining your temple yellow. No one wipes it off. The stain is the point. Then, a priestess steps forward holding a tiny jar of white paste, the last touch. She dips her finger in and smears a bit beneath each of your eyes. Humming softly, you catch a whiff. White lead and coriander. It tingles immediately. She smiles. To reflect the moonlight, child. You nod though, you know what it is. It's a toxic mixture, a slow burn. The kind ancient women used to create that ethereal glow, unaware or uncaring of the damage. Some say it caused blindness, or worse. Some say they knew and simply did it anyway, because beauty demanded it. The moonlight finds your face now. The lead reflects it with a ghostly shimmer. You look for a moment, like a statue brought to life. There's applause, soft, measured. RITULAZED. It's done. You are now what they call accomplished. No one says what that means. No one needs to. As the women begin to disperse, one lingers behind. She's older. Wrinkles frame her mouth like parentheses around too many secrets. She leans close enough that you can see the fine powder settling into the lines under her eyes. She whispers, "The world doesn't worship women. It worships the idea of women." Then she's gone, trailing the scent of myrrh and resignation. You sit alone in the circle for a while longer, the saffron oil seeping down your forehead, the white lead stiffening beneath your eyes. Outside, the moon has moved. The sky is lighter. The day is coming, and you wonder, who will you be when the paint fades? Morning returns with gold. The kind of gold that leaks through woven shutters and puddles onto mosaic floors, where it dances with the dust like a lazy festival. You rise slowly, every limb scented and stiff, every inch of skin a canvas of intention. Today is your first public appearance as a woman fully initiated into beauty. You're not nervous exactly, more like profoundly aware of your weight, your breath, the slope of your neck. Everything feels monitored. Like a live performance that only you don't get to see. Your attendants dress you in a robe dyed deep saffron, trimmed in indigo bands stitched with laurel motifs. Around your waist, a soft girdle, knotted carefully, not for function, but for effect. The knot symbolizes fertility. And yes, everyone knows it. Outside the agra buzzes. But inside your family's courtyard, preparations are quiet, focused. A young girl crushes madder root into powder to tint your cheeks. Another gently lines your eyelids with anemone paste, applied using a tiny bronze spatula that smells like age and mystery. Then comes the most sacred accessory of the day, your eyebrows. Your natural brows are light, sparse from repeated plucking. A cosmetic deficiency by Greek standards. So a solution, of course, is applied. A thin arc of dark soot mixed with fig juice, painted above each eye in perfect semicircles. The result is strange more expression than anatomy. More mask than feature. You catch your reflection in a polished bronze plate. You look a bit like someone who knows something you don't. Outside the house, people begin to arrive for the procession. It's not just for you, it's a festival. Day dedicated to Artemis. But your participation is special. Your debut is a paragon of womanhood. Or at least, the version of womanhood people have been preparing you to embody. You step into the street, flanked by musicians playing reed flutes and hand drums. Your walk is slow, deliberate, watched. Everyone is watching. And the strange part? You're watching yourself, from somewhere inside your mind. A part of you steps back and begins analyzing. Do I look modest enough? Is the paste on my forehead cracking? Did the lead smudge under my eyes? It's like you've become a curator of your own face. As you pass under arches strewn with olive branches, a group of older women sings a song about Aphrodite rising from the sea on a scallop shell. Their voices are bright and brittle, like clay bells. The song ends with a line about the glow of a face that pleases both gods and men. You feel the words settle on your skin like dust. Later at the temple steps, you're invited to offer a small gift, a token of your new identity. Something of your essence, they say. You hand over a comb symbol, carved from olive wood, still slick from this morning's myrtle oil. You place it at the altar. The priestess nods. You're accepted, but behind her eyes, you notice something. Tiredness, maybe. A flicker of irony. Or perhaps you're just projecting. Some historians think these processions were about civic pride. Others suggest they were quiet grooming grounds, displays of marriage potential for wealthy families. And still others insist it was never about the girls at all, but about the maintenance of cultural ideals, the polishing of tradition, until it gleamed like a lie. You don't know which theory is true, but as you descend the temple steps, a small boy runs ahead of you and yells, "There she is!" The girl with the goddess face. You smile, not because you're flattered, but because that's the point, isn't it? The mask fits. You've practiced your role so well, it no longer feels like a performance. And somewhere inside, your real face presses softly against the paint, waiting. The celebrations are over. The garlands have wilted, the flutes have quieted, and your saffron robe is folded neatly at the foot of your bed, still perfumed with myrtle and expectation. You lie awake, staring at the beams overhead, your face tight, with the residue of beauty powders, oils, pastes clinging like stubborn memories. Tonight is quieter than the last. But not emptier, because now, the expectations aren't ceremonial. They're domestic. Tomorrow, you begin your lessons in household stewardship. You thought the ceremonies were the peak. But no, those were the prologue. The real theater begins. In the oikos, where beauty is not just display, but duty. Where the face you wear isn't for the gods, it's for your husband's guests. His clients, his slaves, his mother. Your first task? Soap-making. Not the soft lemon-scented kind that modern bathrooms adore. No, this is serious soap, a mixture of ashes and animal fat, boiled down in a copper pot that blackens your nails. And your patience. The smell is overwhelming. Not unpleasant, exactly. Just medieval. One of the house slaves shows you how to stir it without scorching the bottom. She doesn't speak unless prompted, but her eyes flick toward your clean painted face more than once. You wonder what she's thinking. Maybe how strange it is that someone so polished is still so useless. Later, you're taught how to grind barley for face masks. A mix of barley flour, goat's milk, and crushed rose petals to soften the skin. They say, you spread it onto your arms and wait for it to dry, cracking like gentle armor. A few minutes in, the itching begins. You're not supposed to scratch. A true Athenian woman has composure, even under discomfort. That's the whole trick, really. Beauty isn't just application, it's endurance. Elsewhere in the house, a young servant is heating beeswax for hair removal. She beckons you with a tilt of her chin. You sit. She works silently, expertly, smearing warm wax onto your arms, your legs, then pulling it off with linen strips. Each tear is a tiny betrayal. You wince. She doesn't react. Pain is not acknowledged. Not in this house. Historians disagree about how widespread waxing rituals were in ancient Greece. Some say only courtesans waxed. Others believe respectable. Women did too, but discreetly, as if the hairlessness must appear natural, even though it wasn't. Invisibility was the goal. The less effort they could see, the more valuable the result. Later, you're gifted a small pot of eyeliner made from burnt almonds and sheep fat. It's meant to be smudged across the lids to deepen the gaze. Makes the whites of your eyes seem brighter, your aunt says, as if this is the key to everything. You try it that night. And yes, it does make you look softer, dreamier, but it also smells faintly of smoke and morning. That evening, you sit in the garden, the eyeliner melting slightly under the sun's retreat. Your hands smell of barley and beeswax. Your feet ache from standing too long in silence. Your skin itches from the floral mask you weren't allowed to rinse properly, and yet, you look, they say, radiant. That's the word your mother uses when she walks by. Radiant, like a well-oiled statue. Like something burnished. You think back to the temple vow, to the pomegranate branches, the wreath of bay, the white lead on your cheeks, and you wonder if this was the plan all along, not to worship beauty, but to train yourself to live inside it, like a cage made of mirrors. You smile, of course. Always smile, even when no one's watching, especially then. There's a knock at the courtyard gate. A polite knock, 3 soft raps, like the rhythm of a lullaby. But it still slices through the quiet of mid-morning, like a dropped amphora. You're called to meet him, the suitor, not officially. Of course, this is just a visit, an exchange of courtesies, a conversation between families. But everyone in the household knows what it means. Your hair has been braided with saffron threads, your skin scrubbed with sea salt paste, and your wrists dabbed with rose oil thickened by resin, the kind that sticks to your pulse points like honey. You've become a resume in perfume and posture. When he enters, you do not greet him directly. That would be improper. Instead, you pour water over his hands slowly from a ceramic pitcher, shaped like a lion. The gesture is ceremonial, an echo of hospitality, but also symbolic. Clean hands, clean intentions. At least that's the idea. He's taller than you expected. Younger, and like everyone else. He doesn't look at you so much as observe you. You're not supposed to speak freely, so you watch instead. You notice his sandals are stitched with dyed leather, probably imported from Corinth. You notice the small scar under his jaw shaving accident, maybe. He tries to hide it by keeping his chin high. He compliments your mother on the rose bush. Then he praises the symmetry of the house. Then, finally, the grace of your movements. You've been trained to respond with a shy tilt of the head. Perform it perfectly. Later, after he leaves, there are murmured conversations behind closed doors. Words like temperament and suitability. Numbers are exchanged, dowry discussions cloaked in metaphors. Your presence is no longer required. You retreat to your chamber and begin preparing the vinegar rinse, a mix of diluted wine vinegar, saffron, and a few crushed iris petals. It's supposed to tighten the skin, whiten the tone, and leave a fresh scent. You sponge it over your face, holding your breath against the sting. When you exhale, your mouth tastes faintly of bitterness and flowers. Somewhere downstairs, a cup is dropped. Laughter follows. For a moment, you wish you were invisible again. The kind of girl who hasn't yet been presented. The kind whose only concern is whether her eyeliner is smudged or her cheek paste is uneven. Because now, things are happening around you, but no longer for you. Beauty was once a craft. Now it's a transaction. You remember something your cousin once whispered during a wedding procession years ago. The prettiest girls get the least time to themselves. She'd been right. Historians believe Greek women had little control over marriage negotiations. Fathers arranged, mothers polished, and brides complied. A few dissenting stories exist of women rejecting matches, running away, even plotting their own futures. But those tales are rare, often painted with tragedy or scandal. Still, late at night, you imagine a different script. One where beauty isn't for trade. Where the soot on your eyes is just for the joy of color, the rose oil. Worn for your own delight. Where the vinegar stings only because you choose to be clean. Not because you're being inspected. But here, in this house, choices are curated. Smooth, plucked, wax dot, and so you rinse the cloth again. Wipe your chin and prepare for what's next dot, because tomorrow he'll return. And the negotiations will begin in earnest. And you'll sit beside your mother, glowing, silent dot, like a well-framed painting waiting to be bought. The wedding comes with the rain dot. It's late autumn now, and the skies are silvered with soft clouds, the air thick with the scent of pressed olives and hearth smoke. You wake to the sound of sandals against wet stone, preparations beginning before sunrise. Somewhere in the courtyard, a clay pot breaks an omen, perhaps. But no one speaks of it. Today, your body is no longer just yours. It belongs to the rituals. The bridal bath is first. You're led to the Lutroforos, a tall vessel, decorated with painted scenes of mythic marriages, and water from the sacred spring is poured over your shoulders. It's cold. Colder than expected. Goosebumps rise like little hills over the freshly scrubbed surface of your skin. You try not to shiver. A shivering bride is said to bring instability to the household. Afterward, they dress you in layers. Linen, wool, silk if your family could afford it. Indigo and saffron, teal and russet, pinned with bronze brooch shaped like stars. You are folded into a spectrum, not a person, but a palette. Your mother applies red ochre to your lips, a mix of clay pigment and wine paste, thick and drying. It tastes like dust and ceremony. Your cheeks are dusted with white lead. Again, one final layer dot. It's not just paint anymore. It's armor dot, and beneath it all, the perfume, a blend so strong it clings to your shadow. Myrrh, cinnamon, crushed marjoram steeped in oil for weeks. Your skin no longer smells like you. But that's the point, isn't it? You step outside into the gray morning. The street is lined with torches despite the daylight. A flute plays. Your father walks beside you, solemn, proud. He does not ask if you're afraid. You walk toward the groom's house, as custom dictates, and behind you, the procession chants a hymn to Hymenaios, the god of marriage. The rhythm of their song mingles with the drizzle, soaking the edges of your veil. A woman to your left tosses roasted barley in your path for fertility. A child holds a basket of dried dates and figs, symbols of sweetness and legacy. When you reach the threshold of your husband's house, you pause. A boy breaks a small round cake above your head. Its crumbs scatter down your veil, stick to the damp rouge of your cheeks, then laughter. You're not sure who's inside. The women gather for the final beautification. It's symbolic now, this last act. You are already married in the eyes of the community. But the painting of the bride, the combing of her hair, the dabbing of iris-scented oil behind her ears, it seals you. One woman hands you a small glass. "Vessel, alabastron," she whispers. "For your husband's eyes only. You don't look inside." You don't ask. You place it beside the bed like you're told. That night, as you sit on the low stool before the fire, your face bare for the first time in months, you catch your reflection in a polished bronze bowl. It's strange seeing yourself without the mask. Your skin looks sallow without the lead. Your lips are pale. There's a dark line where the rouge used to sit, like a memory that won't fade. But your eyes, they are clearer than ever. Historians often debate whether Greek brides truly had no voice in their marriages. Some argue for nuance, that in wealthier homes, girls could influence their matches with soft protest or strategic silence. Others claim such ideas are romantic revisionism. The truth, as always, lies somewhere in between. Sitting by the fire with your knees pulled up, the storm whispering outside, you wonder what it would feel like to marry yourself. To take vows not of obedience or duty, but of understanding, patience, laughter. To paint your face not for approval, but because you felt like art. For now, though, you wrap yourself in the soft wool of the bridal cloak. You close your eyes, and you wait, not just for the man, but for what comes after him. Because beauty brought you here, but endurance will carry you through. The morning after, you are a wife. There's no great shift in the sky, no flaming chariot or trumpet blast. Just a quiet creak of the shutters and the ache of having slept too still. Your limbs are heavy with ceremony. You blink against the light, and now everything is different. And yet, not that your first task isn't romantic or symbolic. It's grinding barley for the household. The pestle is heavier than it looks, and the rhythm it demands is ancient, steady, bone deep. You press your weight into it as your mother-in-law watches from across the room, saying nothing but judging everything. Later, she teaches you the house's routine, which urn leaks, which floorboard creaks, which cousin you must never be alone with. In the mirror, you notice the fading pigment on your cheeks' flaked lead, clinging in patches. You remember the ointment hidden in your wedding dowry, a thick white cream made of pigeon droppings and fig sap. It was supposed to erase blemishes. The priestess swore by it. You consider it now, fingertips hovering over the jar. But you leave. It closed. Instead, you tie your hair back and begin boiling water for the herbal steam bath, part of your weekly beauty regimen, now adjusted to impress a husband rather than merely delay marriage. Lavender, rosemary, dried mint leaves. Your skin tingles as the steam rises, flooding your nostrils with the scent of a forest that doesn't know your name. You lean over the bowl, let the heat melt the stiffness behind your eyes, and in that moment, brief as a yawn, you are no one's bride, no one's vessel. Just a girl and a cloud of fragrant fog. But the day continues. There are visits to arrange, fabrics to mend, oil to decant into smaller flasks. You're expected to manage these things gracefully without breaking a sweat or raising your voice. The idea of a wife who perspires is laughable. You must glow, not sweat, which is ironic, given the household's obsession with ceruse paste, a whitening compound made of vinegar and lead. You've been told to apply it thinly now, just enough to keep your complexion appropriate. White is wealth, your aunt once said. It shows you've never toiled under the sun. Which, of course, is a lie. You've worked since girlhood. Spun thread until your fingertips bled, carried water jugs up uneven stairs, crushed herbs for salves and wine. You've labored quietly, invisibly, but beauty demands the illusion of leisure. Historians still puzzle over these rituals. Were they acts of oppression, empowerment, survival? Some claim beauty was a woman's only currency in ancient Greece. Others insist it was a kind of quiet rebellion, a way to assert agency through ritual when other choices were denied. You're not sure. Which version comforts you more? By evening, your husband returns from the agra. His hands are stained with charcoal dust. He smells of garlic and cold bronze coins. He looks at you, really looks this time, and says, "You look tired." You smile and say nothing, because tired isn't something wives get to be. Tired is a word for warriors and orators. You are simply prepared. That night, in the quiet chamber, you reach for your alabaster pot of cold cream. It's made from goat fat and myrtle oil, whipped into a pale balm. It smells faintly of earth and pine. You rub it gently into your cheeks, massaging in slow circles, as if coaxing something from underneath your own face. Perhaps in the flickering light of the clay lamp, your reflection shimmers against the polished bronze. For a split second, you see a child's eyes blinking back, eyes still wide, still watchful, still waiting. The years move in powder and oil. They pass in the smell of burned beeswax, in the sound of pestles grinding resin and flower petals into unguents so familiar you could name them in your sleep. Your hands, once delicate and unsure, now move with the certainty of ritual. You know which roots to steep for calming baths, which crushed beetles give the best red, which shadows on your face are from time, and which can still be gently shaded away. And still, you paint, not just for your husband anymore, not even for the neighborhood gossips. You do it now the way someone might light a lamp in a dark hallway, a small defiance against the vanishing. Your daughter watches you, wide-eyed. She mimics your movements in the mirror, tracing her cheekbones. With a dry fingertip, you smile and hand her the tiny bronze mirror, dented but polished. She grins, and suddenly the room seems brighter. One day, she learned what goes into the jars. The ashes of snails, the powder decomposed crocodile. Scales someone swore was magical. She'll hear the same whispered instructions from an aunt. Never overdo the rouge. Always sleep on your back to protect the paint. Never let him see you cleanse your face. She will ask why, and maybe you'll answer honestly, or maybe you'll laugh and say, because that's how it's done. And let her find the truth slowly, the way you did. The rituals evolve. Instead of lid, you turn to ground pearls for brightness. You start mixing honey with vinegar for a gentler polish. You even let your hair fade a little at the temples, just enough to remind the neighbors that time touches even the beautiful. One day, a friend dies. She had used the same white lead paste every morning for 30 years. Her skin was flawless, but her breath had soured and her bones turned brittle long before the end. At the funeral, the women weep not for her beauty, which was well known, but for her gentleness, her laugh, the way she never let her oil jars run empty. The lesson hums beneath the hymns. Beauty is remembered, but kindness lingers longer. Still, you paint your face the next morning, because you want to, because the cool glide of color across your cheek is a comfort now. A lullaby sung to your reflection. Historians still argue about the purpose of these rituals. Some say ancient beauty was all about pleasing men. Others believe it was a form of silent control, a code passed between women, one brushstroke at a time. Maybe it was both. Maybe it doesn't matter, because you were there. You tasted the bitter pomegranate rinses, the saltwater soaks, the strange advice whispered in bathhouses and bedchambers alike. You lived in a time where beauty was ritual, identity, protection, where a face could be history and resistance and longing all at once. Tonight, your daughter curls beside you. You press a bit of rose oil behind her ear. She giggles. You pretend not to hear the worry in her voice when she asks, "Will I have to wear the paste one day?" And you say, "Only if you want to." Outside, the cicadas sing in slow rhythms, like paintbrushes tapping parchment. The wind smells of time and wet marble. You lie back on your cushion and close your eyes. The mask you've worn so long now slips gently, gracefully away. No alarm, no shame, just rest. Soft and full of memory. Ancient memories closed. Tonight is yours. Good night.